Under this head cover, I believe I will have a driver that will be one of the biggest surprises of 2024. And obviously what we're talking about is the Cobra DARKSPEED driver. And here we have the LS model, which we're going to be testing out here today. It is currently set at 10.5 degrees. Let's have a quick chat about a driver that I think could be one of the best selling ones of the year. And we know with Cobra, the best driver they probably had out in the last couple of years probably has been the F9. We'd have to go back to that F9. Last year's Aerojet, I didn't see many of those sold. Distance-wise, performance-wise, I don't know if it kept up with your TaylorMades, with your Callaways, with your Pings and with your Titleist. But for me, first of all, this looks absolutely fantastic. Down behind the golf ball, that nice matte black top on there. Not any kind of colour on this driver. Let's put it to the test. Straight away there, a Healy one, a good one to test for forgiveness. I know this is a low spin model, but that's still carried over that bunker, which is around about 265 yards carry. So even an off-centered hit there has done pretty well for me. I'm expecting this, hopefully, if it's going to compete with the top drivers of last year, it wants to be for me carrying around about 280 and getting close to that 300 mark. Let's see again. That's a better strike, that's out of the middle. Certainly felt solid, a little bit of a more tinny sound in comparison to other drivers that I've tested so far this year. But on this hole, I've actually hit some drives with the Paradigm Triple Diamond, and that looks like that's just gone past those. So the Cobra there for me has gone further than the AI Smoke Paradigm. Very interesting. But can it repeat itself? It's all about consistencies when you're looking for a new driver. You want something that the off-centered hits don't lose too much distance. We've seen with the Paradigm Triple Diamond, I only really lost on average on a bad strike on a Healy one or a toe one around about 5 yards. So can this be the same? Let's hit one more. Okay, so one more with this driver. One just off the fairway, one extremely long down there and in the fairway. What's this one going to do? Again, a good flight. Little bit of a miss strike, a little bit Healy I would say, and that again is in the fairway and does look pretty long, does look like it's out there with the Paradigm. For me, certainly straight away, sound is a little bit different. It's a sound that maybe you'd have to get used to, but if you're a Cobra fan and you've used Cobras before, you might be used to that. But it could certainly be there, much closer to the F9, which we know was an extremely popular, high-performing driver. Now let's get this driver tested here in the studio. So it's all about numbers, and at the moment, recently, I've seen murmurs from MyGolfSpy, which we know is a good testing, a very stern testing system that they do over in the States. They have been registering probably the fastest ball speeds with this Cobra DARKSPEED LS driver. So very interesting there straight away that Cobra is right up there with ball speed. For me, we know out on the golf course, I've hit some fantastic shots there out at Sharjah Golf and Shooting Club. And for me, it was very interesting to see, obviously, carrying past the total of a Paradigm. I never thought I would see that. I like the look of the driver, I'm liking the performance, but let's see what the numbers actually say here in the simulator. And this driver, a little bit fade bias is what we're starting to see as a general rule from these lower spinning heads. And again, on tour, the favoured shape now is going away from hitting a draw and hitting that fade where they feel like they have a little bit more control. So again, low spinning. This is set at 10.5 degrees, probably not the loft that I would go for, but out on the golf course in the Middle East, perfect conditions, it certainly did get the optimum carry out there, carrying past the Paradigm, which was down at 9 degrees. And this is where you've got to think about what conditions are you playing your golf? Where are you playing in the world? What kind of weather do you get? Because that's going to have a big effect on what kind of loft you've got your driver on to be able to optimize your distance. So let's start to see here. Obviously in previous weeks we've been getting close to 300 yards with the Paradigm driver, with the AI Smoke, and also very similar numbers with the QI10. Great ball flight there. Fading back, exactly what we expect. Carry-wise, 275, running out to 294. Straight away there, exactly what I like to see on the golf course. A little bit of a fade. That's certainly a shot that I've had with the Paradigm of last year. Certainly with the drivers so far I've been testing this year. Let's see. Again, even with 10.5, launching a little bit low there. Bit of a misstrike, 253. Going 273, so interesting there. Misstrike has quickly lost 20 yards, so a miss hit there and exactly what you'd expect to see. I have lost some distance, and this is certainly something that you see from the low spin heads potentially, that you might drop off 20 yards there. It was a poor swing, a poor strike. We can't just blame the driver for that, but 20 yards is certainly going to be noticeable out there, but it's not 50 yards. I've not drastically lost a lot of yards. I've still been able to get out there to a reasonable distance. I'm still in play, so I still have a shot into the green potentially. And this is where you've got to think, this is the smaller profile head from Cobra with the Dark Speed. We will be testing the X range out very shortly, not only with myself and comparing it to this driver, but also with our mid-handicapper to see what he maybe thinks. It's a bit of a bigger profile head, but just because it's a bigger profile head doesn't mean that it's not suited for the lower handicapper, the higher swing speeds. It might be perfect for me, because I certainly don't always hit the centre of the face. Another one now. That's the higher one. It was well struck, so I'll be very interested to see there the carry on this. 270, going 280 again. That's a landing angle that maybe has done that. Again, in the Middle East, when you're playing in hot conditions, if you're in the US, if you're in Asia and you're in very warm conditions, that kind of launch is going to be an optimal ball flight. Certainly interesting, when we went out to TaylorMade a couple of years ago, the fitter certainly fitted to higher lofts than what you'd probably play back in the UK. That's because they were thinking about California weather. If you're playing out there, to optimise your distance, you want to get that launching high. But for me, I feel like I can control this driver. Again, try and hit a lower one now. I mean, it's certainly a lower one, landing at 240. Going 260, that's certainly right off the bottom of the face, but it shows that I can start to take that loft off and I've not lost too much distance. That into the wind is going to be perfect if you was playing links golf. For me, the profile of the head, I like the size of that. I like it's just nice and compact. Again, a little bit of a deeper face on this, so it's not too shallow. It's not similar to something like a Ping that's got a little bit of a longer face. But for me, looks behind the golf ball, it does sit and look absolutely fantastic. It's a nice sleek head. I like that it's got the Cobra logo in the middle of the head again, just for those everyday golfers who want to get the ball in the centre. It's something that I do see a lot when playing in Pro-Ams, playing with golfers all over the world, that the ball position on the face starts to sometimes sneak towards the heel, sometimes sneak towards the toe, and it's not centred. And that's the reason why they're not finding the centre of the face. But we're going to get out at Woolly Park now, put it to the test in some English conditions. Is 10.5 degrees the right loft? I'm certainly seeing better ball speeds. I'm certainly getting a great feel and sound off this. And with all the technology in this Cobra, it's certainly going to compete. And it's already been seen that the ball speeds are matching those of Callaway, TaylorMade, Titleist, your top brands that you do see on the PGA Tour. Could this be one of the best-selling Cobra drivers since the F9? I certainly think so. But let's get outside to Woolly Park. So guys, you will see a change of scenery here. We are back in the UK, we are back at Woolly Park, and we're testing this Dark Speed driver. But what I want to do is, so far, like we said in the video, this for me is probably the best driver I've tested so far this year. Feels a little bit better, performs a little bit better than both the Callaway and the TaylorMade drivers, and also the Ping G430 Max 10K. But is this one the perfect one for me? There's another Cobra driver in the range which I think is going to be perfect for me, but not just for me, perfect for the everyday golfer with how you can set that driver up. But I want to put this driver to the test. Like I said, I think this so far is my favourite. It is performing the best of the 2024 drivers. How is it going to compete against my Paradigm driver of 2023, which I felt was the best of that year? Again, just see, I like the sound, I like the ball flight, and I also get the flight there from that. So very interesting there that, again, this is set at a 10.5 degree head. It hasn't launched too high, and this is where when you go for a fitting, guys, you've got to think about what kind of ball flight are you looking for. A lot of people start to think, well, I need less spin, I need it to launch slower, so they go for a lower lofted head, and then they struggle to get the ball in the air if they are having lessons, if you're changing your swing. For me, it's all about getting one that gives you the optimum flight from your swing. If you're not having lessons, again, get the right loft. Just because you feel like your friends have all got 9 degree lofts, don't just go for that. because you want to get the one that's going to give you the optimum flight, as much carry as possible, as much total distance, and there, even with a 10.5 degree head, that hasn't launched too high. And as we know, obviously, like I said, the sound is one thing that I've really liked with this driver. It does sound solid. It has obviously changed a little bit in sound, and that's what a lot of brands have been working on, because after all, sound is feel. So feel for you. If it feels that way, you're going to have a little bit more confidence. If it sounds a nice way, again, over that golf ball, you're happy to start to hit that ball with confidence. And also for your feedback, you might be able to get a little bit more feedback. If it sounds a little bit higher pitched, potentially you don't know if you've hit it off-centered, you don't know if you've hit it out of the middle, and you can't start to break down exactly what you have done. Okay, so one more with this Cobra. Again, I'm going to take this one and compare it to my Paradigm. I'm going to hit a Paradigm after this, see distance-wise which one is coming out best. Again, we're back in the normal climates for me. We're back in the UK, we're back into colder weather. That's why the woolly hat is out and I've got a few layers on. Let's see. Again, an off-centered hit there, slightly low on the face, but also came off pretty fast. That's in the right-hand side of the fairway. Let's compare it now to the Paradigm. Again, guys, you've seen the numbers inside, you've seen what distance we are getting from this, but I do think there's a Cobra driver on the range for me, which is actually going to be a little bit better than this one. Stay tuned for that next week. Right, back in with the Paradigm here. So again, looking straight down to it, after testing the latest Paradigm, the AI Smoke, we can see obviously there is some changes on the top. Doesn't look the same. We also know the technology is slightly different, but this for me still was performing exceptionally well, and I was very confident with it last year. Let's see how it compares today. Interesting, a very similar strike there. That one's fading back, so a good comparison there. Struck pretty much the same place on the face, but let's get down there now and compare. But so far for me, guys, Cobra have really knocked it out of the park this year. They are going to be back up there competing. I think if you're going for a fitting, make sure you don't just overlook the Cobra, because you know from previous years it's not always been the most used. You've not seen many on the ranges, you've probably not seen many of your friends buying it, but for me, my Golf Spy are saying they're getting the fastest ball speeds off that Cobra DARKSPEED, but there's a Cobra DARKSPEED that could be perfect for you, and I also think it'll be the perfect one for me. And guys, so up here just on the fairway is that Cobra DARKSPEED, and pretty much in line, maybe a yard behind here in the rough, is that Paradigm driver. So leaving me a reasonable shot in here at Woolly Park, but the DARKSPEED there, off-centered hit, is performing as well as last year's best driver in my opinion, and that's what I've seen so far. The off-centered hits are pretty good, coming off nice and fast. Out of the middle, I certainly saw a little bit more distance and a little bit more ball speed, but it'll be very interesting to test out the Cobra DARKSPEED Max driver. It could be a driver that's going in your bag, it could be a driver that mid-handicap Dave would like, but we know he's got a new driver and we'll have to test it against that. But guys, if you're enjoying the content, please do consider hitting that subscribe button below, and I'll see you tomorrow.